Claude Code in practice. The example I want to give today is like, to me, a beautiful case for a GTM problem. Every GTM practitioner solves time and time again for each and every, in my case, engagement, or you're an in-house practitioner. Everybody needs name normalization. So let's keep it really visual here. So this is not normalized names. You have like emojis, you have parentheses, you have like weird spellings, and you want normalized names in your CRM. And this is the example I want to show for how Claude Code knowledge compounds. So instead of like having a template or anything that you take and say, hey, you know what, I want to run name normalization here, which is basically either regex or you can do it better with AI. And here's my guidance for that. But like, what do you do then when you find an edge case that you didn't consider before, or where certain decisions have to be made and you want to imprint how you want those decisions to be made? How do I want normalization to look like? And granted, normalization is a solved problem, but you can infuse your own taste on things like this. And let's say we go from this is how the problem looks like to now build me an agent, or basically a prompt that has really good guidance of how I want normalization to look like. I use actually Claude.ai, so the web interface, for that a lot when I have like open-ended conversations, so to say. And here's a trick. You don't see that a lot on LinkedIn or other platforms, but like, it's not like this normalization prompt rains down from the sky. This is first really giving this thing an idea what is the problem I'm solving? How do I think about it? What are the edge cases I've already seen? Maybe here's some data. This is really the stream of consciousness into Claude. And here, there's more than meets the eye. So for example, my projects have, okay, we for some reason can't access those here. Oh yeah, it's just at the bottom. The window is so small. So my projects have custom instructions. So when I babble into AI, it just doesn't do its thing from scratch, but it has like really, really clear guidance on how I even want this conversation to happen. It's connected to my GitHub, which has like my whole knowledge base in there and can tap into that. But the project instruction is also like when it should use the knowledge base and when it shouldn't use it. All of these things are what I'm saying more than meets the eye. But ultimately, what's happening here is, where is it? There we go. This is like a conversation with AI. This basically does some pre-thinking. It's like, okay, what are all the things we could look for? It comes up with titles, with professional credentials, with like vanity decorations and all of this stuff. And what I'm ultimately saying is, okay, cool, build the natural language prompt for me. That, what you see here, it's broken out in system prompt, user prompt, the output schema, and the variables I'm putting in. That is already picking up a foundational document how I want prompts to be structured. That is according to how I want them to be written, how I want them to be structured. So it's a lot about like nested things when I say more than meets the eye, right? This doesn't just rain down from the sky. But the fun part is, and this is where Clay really comes in as kind of an go-to-market IDE. So basically a go-to-market development sandbox. You can really run it across your real data. This, what you just saw, is like this output here, this agent, is basically what I put here into Clay. And here's the thing. I'm doing these things manually. Like, don't take my advice for that, right? You can do most or all of these things already with MCP or API connectors. So like, forget the copy and paste. You can do all of that flowing from one system into the other programmatically. But this is not what this is about. It's really how to develop that name normalization prompt. I wouldn't call it an agent because it really only looks at text. By the way, a fun fact, this I can use a pretty good model. It's more expensive than a really, really super cheap LLM. You could go higher, but it's just not necessary. But the point is, I'm only using it on local data, which is a decision you make where you say use a Clayagent that has web access or use only local data. And the reason I point this out is I can codify that into my foundational document with Claude Code and say, hey, Claude Code, always think through if an agent needs web access or if it just has to work on local data. All of these things, when you catch it, you can already infuse it into the system, which means in the end, I get this foundational document that knows to break this up into system prompt, user prompt, and the output schema instead of just one prompt, what it would be if we use Clagent, including web search. So this is why I'm saying it's more than meets the eye. But ultimately, and this is the fun part, what I'm actually doing then, I say, this works. This is going to be used as a formula in Clay or as a function in Clay, where I can reuse it. Like each time we want to normalize a name, it's a fantastic feature. This is the agent it will run through. I will find use cases or edge cases where I will want to iterate again, build, learn, document, iterate, where I will want to iterate on that. And this is where the power comes in. So the first thing I'm doing, and I might even do this live now, is again, babbling into AI, in this case, into my Claude Code terminal and say, you know what, I'm going to give you a copy and paste from a Claude.ai conversation. Yes, I could save it as a markdown, whatever. It's just so easy to do it like that. So I'm giving it this copy and paste from this Claude conversation with the examples and so on, because it doesn't really need the thinking around it. It only needs that output. And then I'm saying, you know what, take this, look into my foundational documents and create a foundational document how I want name normalization to look like. And this is like Claude Code going through my knowledge base and coming up with okay, this will be document infra 66. It's a schema. And then I say, you know what, I'm allowing all edits during this session. This will now run in the background. And here we see it's still building. And what it does, it actually creates that foundational document according to my AI knowledge document standards. AI knowledge means AI ready, which means it has a certain format. This is the interpreted data. So the base markup looks like this, but this is how it's more pleasing to the eye. And this has all been elaborated. I want all my knowledge base documents to look like this. They should all have the structure. They should follow a certain naming convention. They are front-loaded, so it's very easy for AI to understand what's in the document. All of the good stuff. There is which is very important when you take it serious, the changelog. What you see here, the document on which basis other documents are created, has already gone through 10 iterations or something like that. But this is the trick. I'm not saying with Claude Code, you build stuff that will be right from the beginning, but it's so straightforward to just talk to AI and say, hey, I want to have this change. Here's one thing that is interesting. So one thing I need from you. So let's retrace our steps. I had a conversation with Claude.ai about how to build a normalization agent. From there on, I used that output that was already in a really good form because Claude.ai could access my Claude Code repository to know how I want that agent to be built. I took that, I put it into action, I used it in Clay, I'm happy with the results, and then I'm going back and say, you know what, take this conversation and make it into a foundational document according to my standards. So I have this knowledge as a foundation, which I can then build on top of it. And this is what has happened here. I'm going to show that document in a second. But for example, I always want in these foundational documents an audit trail of where did this actually originate? What was the conversation, the Claude.ai conversation or the terminal session that led to this document? And I said, you know what, each time I'm not giving you the URL of that Claude.ai chat. Ask me for it. So I'm now giving it this URL. And what it will actually do is go back into the document, which I'm going to show in a second, and add that URL because that is an instruction that I specifically asked for. let's do this thing. Let's open the knowledge base document. There will be something new. Okay, name normalization. This, what you see here, has just been created by Claude Code. And let me run the cleaner version based on how I want these documents to look like. So now we have a contact name, normalization agent, LinkedIn, CRM, conversational cleaning, document code. What is the purpose? Agent specification for an LLM prompt that cleans LinkedIn and CRM contact names into conversational components suitable for professional written communication. Blah, 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 blah. And then here we have the link to the source, to the AI chat. Here's an overview. What is this about? How is the architecture of this thing? All of this, as I said, is not raining down from the sky. This is what I mean with nested context. How I want what I ask to be interpreted. How these foundational documents look like. All of that is molded and shaped by how I want this to look like. So for example, what I'm seeing here, is this, okay, this is example. So let's say I would catch, hey, it doesn't catch these edge cases. Then I can go in and say, hey, Claude Code, in my foundational document, I missed these 2 edge cases. Please add them. And that's what's going to happen. This is why so many people are on the hype train, because what you see here has very little to do with code, but it makes my deliverables so much more consistent, so much faster, so much more professional. It elevates everything I do for my clients, in the end, leading to better results, but not by running Clay in Claude Code, but by really knowing what matters and learning and having that learning and knowledge compound over time. I find it's super crazy. Like here we have the prompt. Next time I just gotta ask for it. No deep research needed anymore. I just copy and paste it into the next function where I need it in a new workspace. And at some point, this is just going to be an MCP connection, and that's it. But this is what makes it beautiful. Hope that was helpful. Peace out.